Merry Christmas. And as you can see by my apron, I'm ready to do some Christmas baking. So what we're going to make today is something I've never made before, but I discovered what this cookie cutter was for. They're called jam jams. And jam jams are a cookie with a bit of jam in between and a cookie on top that has the center cut out. So for that, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of brown sugar and a 1/4 cup of white sugar, which I've put in here already. A 1/2 pound of soft butter, let's put that in there. 2 large eggs, a 1/2 cup of corn syrup, excuse me, I'm not used to using this stuff. 1/2 cup of corn syrup. You're going to need some vanilla, some baking powder, some salt, and some flour. Okay, first we're going to get our butter creaming. I don't know how soft this butter actually is. There we go, it's soft. Whoa, slow down there, cowboy. All right, and we're going to pop the sugar in there with that. This thing just wants to fire up and take right off on me. Once that's all creamed together, we're going to add our eggs, beating them one at a time really well. You're also going to need some jam. And this is my strawberry jam from last year. We're going to pop these eggs in here one at a time, beating well after each addition. I've written this down because, again, I've never made this before. We're going to need 3 cups of flour and darn, well, this is 2 cups, but now this flour is half all-purpose, half white, or half all-purpose, half wheat. There goes our other egg. We want that beaten up smooth. And let's see what we're supposed to do next. Beating well, add corn syrup and vanilla. Beat smooth. Okay, how much vanilla do we need? It doesn't say, so I'm just going to go with the old standby of 1 teaspoon. And let's get that corn syrup in here, because that brown sugar is not breaking up as much as I'd like. So a little more liquid will help that. Now you want this to beat smooth. Okay. Now that our batter part has beaten smooth, we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder to our flour and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now my butter is salted, so I'm really not going to add a whole bunch extra, and this salt's pretty big. So, and we're going to get this mixing again, and we're going to start this up again. Now this is only 2 cups of flour. I'm going to have to add another one. How much do we got here? So we're going to add another cup to this. There we go. We're going to turn our beater up a bit. Add a little bit more. Whew. The last bit we're going to add by hand, because I don't know how strong this mixer is, but I don't want to burn out the motor. Okay, now when I have this all worked in, I'll get my rolling pin, which is there, and my rolling cloth out, and we'll be right back. Okay, this dough seems to be a little doughy, but I guess they wouldn't call it dough if it wasn't doughy. So I put a good amount of flour down on our cloth here. And I'm going to flour my hand to see if I can get a hunk without it sticking too much to my fingers. There we go, that worked. We're just going to press this down, and we're going to roll it out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. We want them fairly thin because there's going to be one on top of each other. All right. Now, we take out our fancy dancy cookie cutter, and I'm going to take the center out, and I'm just going to make some regular cookies here. Now, if you don't have one of these fancy dancy cookie cutters, folks, you can use, like before, like I said before, you can use a regular cookie cutter and cut out your cookie shapes. And then all you have to do is take a small pill bottle or something and cut the hole out in the center. I'm just putting a little star center in here. Do I have room for all that? Yep. I'll just do this. And that should pop. Look at that. Well, it's not that great, but it'll do the job. Okay, folks, these are ready to go in the 350-degree oven for 8 to 10 minutes. And while they're baking, I'm going to make up some more. I'm going to show you how to do it the other way. All right. Now, you remember I said you didn't need these fancy-dancy cookie cutters. All you need is a cookie cutter and a pill bottle. Well, I'm going to go a little step further with the center, but as long as you have equal amounts too. Remember, folks, you're going to need the same amount of bottoms, which is ones without cutouts, as you have in tops, which is the ones that have cutouts. Okay, so first off, we're going to do our snowflake cookie cutter, and then I'm going to use this little snowman cookie cutter as my center. Alrighty. Roll this out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. I know it sounds really thin, but remember, 2 cookies. You're doing 2 cookies in one. Okay, let's do a nice big snowflake here. Almost forgot to flour it. There we go. And then we're going to take another snowflake. I'm going to cut it. And then in the center, if you could just, you don't have to be perfect, but right in the center, we're going to use our little snowman cookie cutter. We might even save him for something else. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, we'll be back when I have baked all these cookies, and then we're going to fill them. Okay. Now, while the bottoms of this batch are cooling, I'm going to take a little bit of powdered sugar, and I'm just going to sift it over the tops. Because, of course, you don't want the powdered sugar showing up on your jam, right? And we don't want too much, but it's very festive and snowy. And then we're just going to let these cool right here. Now you want these to be somewhat warm but not hot when you spread the jam on. At least I think so. It makes sense to me because you can use jelly too, but if the cookies are warm, the jam will spread better. If it's really, really thick, and we just take a cookie and we match it up with its partner, and we very, very gently press it into place, and then we let them cool. You'd like to get the jam all the way to the edges, but you don't want it pushing out between your cookies either. There. Oh, it's coming up nicely in the center there. Gently press that into place. All right, we'll be back when I have all my cookies baked, sugared, and pressed together, and I'll show you what they look like. Well, there they are, folks. Jam jams. This is the Mrs. Volpe from our half-acre homestead saying, don't talk with your mouth full. Jam jams. Cookies so good, they had to name them twice. Merry Happy Ho Ho!